station. Sorry, this is, if you've ever listened to the Support Week in Review audio edition, a podcast that I record every week, that's how we start. It's an old habit. My name's Lyle Kozloff, Senior Support Engineering Manager based in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Lee, would you like to introduce yourself?
I will. I am Senior Support Engineering Manager, Americas East, currently in London, but normally based in New York City. Find me afterwards and we'll talk about the journey. Lyle.
So we're your hosts today. There's lots of other support folks though, and we may call on them. We will likely call on them. So be aware, support folks. The first questions in the doc come from Lee.
Yeah, let me look in there real quick and I'll ask them vocally. One of the things that we're spending a lot of time focusing on right now are reducing free user tickets, reducing effort on free user tickets. See, I messed it up there myself again. And that's what I want to take a minute to talk about. What does that mean? What are we doing? How's it going? So we don't think that we will ever be able to stop free users from opening tickets, but we can redirect our efforts on those tickets and appropriately automate them into buckets and have them responded to. And those that need to be interacted by someone from our team, we can handle that much smaller subset. So we're working on a dashboard now to present our results, and we've had a good cross support effort across regions to create automations that are going to help us do that. So just wanted to take a minute to say we're working on reducing our effort to become more efficient, to use automations to serve free users. We're not going to be reducing their tickets. That's just going to ebb and flow, but we're going to reduce the effort it takes from our side. So if you see us talking about that or hear that, you might hear the slip up I just made when I started this. Reducing free user tickets? Nope. Reducing effort on free user tickets? Yes. So, and if there are follow-ups, feel free. Otherwise, I could go to my next one. All right. The next one was interesting. And Jason, you're on the call. James, you're on the call. So I might lean on you. I don't want to steal your thunder because you also have some ideas. But if you look at the graphs, I love graphs. I love to look at graphs. The federal, US federal, there are more than just the United States. So we have to say the US federal. Support ticket volume was like, whoa, like a hockey stick graph. And James, Jason, do you have any thoughts, theories, ideas about that?
Yep. Oh, Jason, I saw you unmuted.
You go first, James. Go
right.
for it.
So yeah, we've definitely noticed that, and we've definitely been trying to account for that when responding to tickets. But as for the why, we do have some theories. I've talked to a couple of the PubSec account team people, and they've indicated that they have been closing more deals in the federal support instance, as well as we're coming into Q4 for the federal government. So they may be wanting to close out some projects and get things moving along, and they're leaning more on us for support.
Yeah, I definitely know there's a big push in a lot of the public sector stuff to move to Kubernetes, and we support Kubernetes, which is a huge plus for us because we're getting a good influx of people who are like, hey, so we need to move to this Kubernetes thing. We hear y'all can do that. And we're like, yes, we can. So we're seeing a good influx of Kubernetes tickets, a lot about Helm. It's awesome. I love dealing with Kubernetes stuff. So yay. But I think, like James said, we're in Q4. We're approaching the close. So I'm sure a lot of deadlines have been set for end of quarter, end of year. So we're seeing a good amount of tickets of we're trying to set these up and we're in a rush. So I think that also accounts for a good amount of the volume.
Thank you both. Lyle, I'll turn it over to you.
No more questions in the doc so far. Does anybody have anything they just want to speak? I'll type it for you. Ask us anything.
Or you could type it.
Or you can type
speak it.
We can make it a short one too.
Into it.
Oh, Anthony, see your cursor. No. All right.
They're stage fright. All right, go ahead, Lyle.
I don't have any questions. Oh, here comes Lindsay. Support is awesome.
That's all I wanted to say. I was excited to join today and get to know support a little better. So hi, thanks for having me.
No,
You guys are
glad.
awesome.
We also appreciate community very much. Yeah, we have a good partnership, especially if you take a look at slide, which one is it? Slide number 18. If you didn't notice that, as of August 15th, GitLab support is no longer processing MFA resets for support users. And this was definitely a community and support team effort. So appreciate.
Yeah, no, that was great. Honestly, I loved to see all the customer engagement in the forum. I know that you linked to places like the blog and Twitter and everywhere else, but I think we saw the most user chatter in the forum, which was awesome because Ronnie was there taking the questions, and it made GitLab just look really great, basically.
Yeah, actually, I was surprised yesterday. I got a direct ping from someone who they
Did
said,
you?
yeah, they wrote something, and then I didn't answer with like as quickly as I'd answered other things, and they pinged me. They're like, "Lyle, you said you wanted engagement in the blog post. I'm pinging you. Engage." It's like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, careful what you wish for, right, Lyle?
Exactly.
While I have you, Lindsay, do note that Rebecca Spainhauer from support and Ilya are working on free user reduction ticket reduction efforts, which may mean that we could see people, we're going to be pointing people towards the forums, but they may also get angry on Twitter. So we're going to want to work with you to make sure that we're ready to pay attention to that, to talk to that, to hear those users. We're not trying to ignore them. We're trying to understand how to engage with them in the service level that they have. So be ready for us to approach you to talk about collaboration on that effort as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just poking around in an issue too, and it looks like you have some great templates ready to go, and you're working on language, and all that good stuff is just going to make our life so much easier. So I'm happy to hear that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Got a question in the doc. Sharon, would you like to tell us what it is?
Yes. So I know that Q2 is a big focus, and I believe in OKR on documentation for all the support team and working with the tech writing team. That's actually becoming one of the key focuses for the TAM team this quarter and as we move forward. What are a couple of kind of key takeaways from yourselves or from the team of things that maybe that you learned, overarching kind of themes that we could take and adopt into our journey?
I would like to turn this over to the team. Somebody who wrote a doc this quarter.
I have thoughts if nobody else, but go ahead, team, first.
John wrote several documentations. Want to weigh in, John?
Well, hold on, pause. We did say we'd call on managers. The team was not prepared. So let's be fair. John, if you are ready, you can, but otherwise I'll start us off and then John, think on it. Some of the things that we thought about here, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what to do, right? And we collaborated with the technical writing group, and we highlighted some docs that some of them we said, hey, these are hot topics in support, so we should get eyes on them to validate. And some of them we said, these are old, we need to make sure that they're up to date. Some of my thoughts and findings were it worked, but it took a lot of effort. And what we're trying to think about going forward is how do we reduce the amount of effort it takes to find signal. So Rebecca Spainhauer and I spent some time iterating on where's the best place to find signal. We currently have a workflow in support called Document This. It is not widely used, so that's problem number one. Problem number two, we think it's not as ergonomic as it could be, right? We need to make it easier to use, and maybe it's going to get evolved a bit. But that is support has worked with a customer, found something in the docs, says it needs to be updated, and then we have a bucket of those things. So we want to use that more and then act on that bucket. So that bucket exists now, we can link you to it, but that's a good spot of areas where customers have touched and we've found some gaps. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about to go forward. Yeah, so awesome.
Thank you, that's helpful.
You got it. I see Greg typing in the doc, and John, you were put on the spot, but you don't have to say anything.
Yeah, I do update a lot of the documentation, but typically I find those through working tickets, and they're typically not big updates, but it'll be something like a warning, like make sure you don't do this because bad things will happen. But typically there's other things like in support, we use the documentation as the source of truth to tell customers, well, you can't do this. The documentation says right here, you can't do that. And that was the case with service desk that said, can't use Exchange with service desk. But like a year and a half ago, that was fixed where you could actually use a catch-all address instead of having to use sub-addressing. And so you could use Exchange with service desk, but that was never really fixed in the documentation. So we were still telling customers, no, you can't use it. But at the same time, it doesn't really make much business sense because you have to change mail routing for Exchange in order for it to work with the catch-all, because they don't officially support catch-alls on Exchange. So it's really not a good fix, but supposedly they're going to implement sub-addressing on Exchange this year. So that might make a lot of customers happy with that.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Greg, I see you typing some stuff. Anything there you want to vocalize?
Yes. So one suggestion I would have is if you find yourself answering a question 2 times, or if there's a question that is a frequently asked question from customers, I think it would be best if customers could find that answer themselves. And to do that, the best way that support knows how is to get it in the documentation. So I think a way to pay it forward, it does take a bit more effort to add a answer to the docs than it does to send it out in an email or in a private conversation. But if it's added to the documentation, then everybody who tries to answer that question after you've added it can just link to the docs and they can find that answer on their own. The customer could find that answer on their own. And you don't have to spend time, or your teammates don't have to spend time searching for that answer and providing it in a one-off private setting when you can just copy and paste that link. And so I think it has really boosted the efficiency of the support team to kind of take the docs first approach.
Great. And that is the primary reason why we're looking to do it with the TAM team also. It's because we just keep answering the same questions.
Awesome. I'm really excited about that, Sherrod. Thanks for thinking that way. And I've had some talks with Patrick Harlan, who is a TAM manager. So I know that we've talked a bit, and I assume we'll be talking more throughout the quarter about how we can find the right docs, collaborate, get those things updated.
Yeah. Great.
Nathan added a point too. Nathan, would you like to tell us what was on your mind?
Sure. Thing that I learned after the writing engagement that we had over the past months or so is finding topics that actually interest me and then wanting to improve them, which makes it much easier to find things to improve on the same topics.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Nathan. Cool. Wow, I see some other hot stuff in the doc. Shall we move on?
Right. So I had a couple questions like first 14. First was just clarification on HB. Thanks, Lyle. That stands for handbook. The other question is the most increase was links to open issues. Do you have any thoughts on what kind of might have been driving that increase for that month?
I know that Ronnie has a script that we modified last time, Ronnie, to get the distribution, right, to see what was linked and to see if anything was jumping out. I'm wondering if we should run that again. At the moment, I don't have an answer, and I'm not seeing anybody else jumping up with an answer. Jason, I see your hand up. Rebecca's got her hand up too. Love it.
I know in like especially last quarter, there was a big push to update a lot of our triggers and our automations in Zendesk to use more of the handbook links, use more of our documentation links. So I know there was a big push to kind of take some of the things we've already been using and update it to be better using documentation and pointing to relevant information. So I know that helped add to that, but I doubt it's all of it.
Could it be the confirmation email thing with .com?
I was thinking that, Rebecca, and that's what I was hoping. If Ronnie was able to run his script, we would see that jump out, which, if you're unaware, this was a little bit of a self-inflicted from our team. We rolled out a change that required some user confirmation, and then we kind of lost track of time, which then ended up causing a need for a reconfirmation, which ended up locking some users out and having to fix some things there. So yeah, that was, I suspect, Rebecca, I suspect that plays in. Without looking at the data and seeing the distribution, I couldn't know, but I suspect that is a large chunk.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anything else? Should I give it the countdown? All right. Let's end it in 5, 4, 3, 2,